Greetings, and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Force, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Human Alchemy 101. That's right, folks. As promised, the rubber's about to hit the road here, and we're going to be engaging in some alchemical processes that some of you guys out there as material alchemists might be thinking this is just all the fluffy bunny, frou-frou new age nonsense. However, my counter to that would be this, that there's a reason why when people engage together we say they have good chemistry. If in fact the universe abides by the first Hermetic principle, which is mentalism, then in the end, regardless of all of the mechanical operations that we see taking place around us, they are at their root electrical, which is at its root consciousness. Or so we understand thanks to the Emerald Tablets. So, Human Alchemy 101 is an effort to take those alchemical principles and apply them in your life by using terms which are recognizable and identifiable and developing tools which you can use for the rest of your life. These are tools that I've developed for myself as coping mechanisms for the chaos of the world around and as identifiers and guidelines for conduct, personal or otherwise, which I have found to be more productive as opposed to stuff which is less productive. So, with that said, are you ready? Let's begin. All right, so one of the things that most people have the most difficult time with, and we're going to address right now, is meditation. All of my students over the years have had issues with meditation, and I believe that we are approaching meditation in the West. We approach it incorrectly. We approach it in rather a less productive method. And because we are not educated in the esoteric as a collective body of citizens within the West, because that's not a direct part of our education, we do not understand the utility of some of these practices. We simply see them on a superficial level, and we assume that if we act as they are acting, that something magical is going to happen and we'll become enlightened or whatever. This is not the case, and I guarantee you that if you want to have that minute meditation, which does work, I do it all the time in shopping lines and whatnot, you need to have some foundation first, because if you're thinking that you're going to just be quiet in a chair someplace for a minute, that's less productive than if you are able to still yourself in the chaos of a retail setting and have a minute of absolute solitude amid the din of humanity pressing upon you. To me, that's more productive because we live in the world. We don't always have the opportunity to find a corner of a room someplace and seclude ourselves. Instead, it is better or more productive, let me put it that way, to seek an alternative that facilitates an engagement of the mind in any setting. All right, so what is this about then? What is the meditation thing about? In practice, everyone's going to give you the whole, it's about breathing and centering, and they're not wrong, don't get me wrong. But this is all like ground level stuff. And if you can't calm your breathing down, if you can't center your thinking out even momentarily, if there's something else that's pressing upon you, this is the first revelation of your meditation, which is that you should be doing something else right now. the idea to me of a meditation, the idea to me of a meditation being successful is when it does allow you to focus on a certain idea or thing and explore it. Explore the vein of that thinking as it moves through the bedrock of all this stuff that we call life, right? To see where it leads. All right, so what are some good techniques for meditation? And realize, see, my goal is to help you as a student or someone who wants to meditate to be able to do it everywhere. That's what I do, because I don't have the time to go off someplace for 20 minutes and chill out. I mean, it'd be wonderful, I suppose, but I'd rather do something else. And I think that's really what happens for most of us in the West, especially most of us in America. We're all like sitting down and you're all, and you get your pose going and your breathing's doing, and you get bored. I don't know, I get bored. I like to do stuff. And so we're not taught to do things. Well, meditation, to me, is an endeavor in thinking. It's an exercise in thinking. And when you approach it, that you're doing a thing, that the goal of meditation is not to vacate the mind, which is an unnatural state for a human being, okay? It is absolutely an unnatural state, which is why the instance you try to completely white page your brain and go white paper, white paper, white paper, and you're trying not to see anything, that turns into the canvas of your life. And suddenly everything is just like this collage of crap. And so the real benefit of a meditation is to let the collage happen and then start inquiring what it is that you're seeing. The technique I like to draw from is the Old Testament prophet mentality, where you visualize you're an Old Testament prophet and you're being guided around by an angel. And typically the way these visions work, right, because meditation is opening that eye, it's opening that point of consciousness where you can see, even if your eyes are open, and mine are always open, I almost never close my eyes in a meditation, and allow yourself to see something, see a concept, see an idea, expand something. Well, in the Old Testament, what would happen is the angel would walk around Prophet Isaiah here and, hey, what is it that you see? And then he says, well, I see this thing. Well, if you start exploring the idea, when that collage hits the wall and it's absolute chaos, is there order to your chaos? There is. I'm certain there is. And you will find that you can begin to learn and understand something that is really significant. And that is, what are your objective preferences? What is it that you are pursuing? What is it in your life that you support? What is it you like to do? Because when we are confronted with our objective preference, we can learn a great deal about ourselves. And so I would suggest to you that as a component of your first meditation, that you explore the idea of what is your objective preference in anything. And as a component of that, what are the things that you don't like? Now, it's very easy, and I've assigned this many, many times, which is why it's fun and it's super revelatory and it's work. This is work, because this is something that you're interested in doing, because guess what? It's about you. It's about you exploring you, what this lens of flesh and bone and blood is all about, why it likes to do some things, why it doesn't do other things, and why it ignores certain things entirely when it's completely aware of what's going on, right? And that thing is you, whatever it is in your life that you're doing. So the first thing I tell people to do in a meditation then, because it's fun to think about yourself, it is, admit it, come on, you like to think about yourself, we all do all the time, it's like our number one occupation as a human being. It's why we obsess about our feelings and say, I feel this and I feel that, right? Well, now we're going to think, and now we're going to think, I think this, and I think that, and why is it that I think these things? Exploring our feelings is cool, but exploring your thinking is more exciting to me. And the reason for it is because by exploring your thinking, you will understand your feeling. Okay? It just will manifest to you, because for most of us, what we conceive of as our thinking, our cognitive process, is still driven by a bedrock of feeling underneath it all. So by understanding your thinking, you will in fact understand your feeling and how that process works. And for more information, by the way, on this dichotomy of human consciousness, please take a look at the other episode of The Map, where I talk about human consciousness, and I break that up into components for us, because it is beneficial, and I actually wrote all that stuff out too, so that you can read it if you'd like to. Okay, so the first thing with regard to this meditation and how productive it can be is you will recognize that you won't have to focus on your breathing if you focus on your thinking. Your body will begin to still itself as you begin to pull the resources together to organize your thought processes into explainable terms where you're explaining it to yourself, and an answer which leads itself to a feeling is unacceptable to the thinking mind. The thinking mind is seeking exposition. So let's do an example about something, let's say, you don't like. I particularly don't like raw oysters. I find that raw oysters are unpalatable to me, but I do like smoked oysters. So this wound up, for fun, becoming a meditation exercise, because I recognized that the oyster had nothing to do with it. It was the condition of its present state that I found either palatable or unpalatable. And I began to explore why. And as a result, I began to learn more about myself. These sorts of meditations where you ask yourself and you say, okay, well, what is it about a raw oyster? Well, it's the condition. Maybe it's the structure. It's the sliminess. Maybe it looks like it's some kind of physical discharge from somebody's nose or something. That usually is what it looks like to me. And you just don't want to eat it, right? But if it's smoked and it's all like together, then you do. And so I explored the nature of my palate and the fact that I was in fact a texture eater, as well as many other things, right? And you begin to learn things about yourself. You begin to contextualize certain behaviors. Now this can be extrapolated into something much more personal too. It can be extrapolated into relationships, where you can think about, why is it that you behave a certain way in a certain environment, which in another environment, that would be unacceptable. Are you compartmentalizing your life? Is this an exhibition of your own dualism? Because you're still the same person, so why would it be okay in one environment to be one way, and in another environment that's completely unacceptable? Wouldn't you want that to harmonize? Does this cause some kind of cognitive dissonance? These are meditation topics that will help you still your mind, because it will force you to draw a line of consciousness from one thought to the next. Even if you are a holistic thinker and you're seeing it in this large global perspective, you will still be able to draw pinpoints of consciousness, pinpoints of preference within that three-dimensional scope. Like just drawing a mote of dust out of the air and pulling it down and expanding it until you understand what it is. You recognize that it might be a reflection of a larger component, of something greater, something else within your personality. It's the first of the year, and that's kind of why I'm focusing on this whole objective preference thing, because a lot of us are going to be making New Year's resolutions or have already made them. And are probably wondering, are you going to be able to do it? Are you going to be able to succeed in your particular pursuit? And if you fail, you have to ask yourself, why do you fail? Why is it that you pursue back to a thing? If you're trying to lose weight, why is the food thing, becoming an issue? What is that about? And the reason we withdraw from this kind of meditation, the reason that most of us don't pursue this, is because it does force you to confront yourself. It forces you to confront yourself on levels that are uncomfortable. It forces you to ask yourself objective questions about your own behavior in the silence of your mind and in the quiet of your heart. This is where the rubber meets the road, because your personal contact with yourself and with your immediate environment and with the things that you engage in your environment and your choices relative to other human beings and how you conduct yourself with them, these things impact out in this ripple effect that's extraordinary. And because we're all connected, we have a choice. But we can only make these choices if we understand our objective preferences. Because you can't choose a thing in ignorance. In ignorance, you may only be directed. So make a choice. Which your first choice would be to give yourself time. All the time. Permission. All the time. To just take a moment and separate yourself within your environment and think. And ask yourself questions. Make those questions the core of your meditations. Explore them until you cannot find a better answer to why certain things happen within your life as a result of what you choose to do or choose not to do as a result of your understanding or not understanding what your objective preferences are. All right? So that's your assignment right now. That's your assignment. I want you guys to go out there and start cherry picking your consciousness. Go for the low-hanging fruit. Ask yourself really simple questions like, why do I like this donut that I'm eating right now? Or why is it that I like my food cooked just so? What is it about this pair of shoes that I like to wear? Why is it that this coat makes me feel comfortable? Or this dress makes me feel really powerful? Or this whatever that you have in your life, ask yourself why. And see where that takes you. And if you want, you're welcome to share it in the comments below or write to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'd be interested to see where all of you go in your most exciting adventure, which is to explore the undiscovered country of your own consciousness and see where it takes you. I'm Aubrey Force, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Human Alchemy 101. I'll be talking to you soon.